Well, summer seems to have arrived today, but today is going to be a special day because today, Friday night, is coming out of the water and I'm going to have a look and see how bad things have got underneath. I'm half expecting that we're going to have to be buying a new set of propellers. This hasn't been out of the water for a couple of years. It was on zinc anodes when it came onto the Broads. I'm a bit worried about the galvanic protection they would have offered on fresh water and mild brackish water. Because we do go to sea, I'm going to be replacing those with aluminium and not magnesium. Magnesium is probably better for fresh water, but they last 5 minutes in salt water, even for short journeys. You could go away for a couple of days and lose all of your anodes in one day in salt water if they're magnesium. So aluminium is the way forward, but what it looks like underneath, how the antifoulers stood up and what those outdrives look like, we're only going to find out once the boat comes out of the water. So just making our way down the harbour just a little bit further now. To be honest, I have to remember which way to turn myself because there's quite a few little nooks and crannies down here. I think I can remember the way down. There's a lot of ums this morning. A lot of indecision. I suppose the reality is if people watch boating and sailing channels, they'll know that one of the highest times of trepidation is when a boat's lifted out of the water. And I suppose it's because we all watch those one or two real big failures. But the reality is, for the thousands of times that boats are lifted out of the water without any issue, we always still think about that one time, don't we, where everything's just gone wrong. And it kind of makes us worry a little bit. So just like everybody else, every other boat owner, when you take a boat round to be lifted out, you kind of think to yourself, ooh, could it be today? I'm hoping it's not, but that's what the boat insurance is for. So I haven't made a claim in a few years. Let's hope that this year's not going to be the first time I'm going to make a claim and it's going to be a catastrophic failure of falling out of the cradle. That wouldn't be good. And it's a lovely day. We haven't had good weather this year at all. So what a gift of a day it is. It's a shame that I'm just not out on the water enjoying the boat today, and instead I'm committing myself to a whole day of grinding, rubbing, polishing and painting. However, I think I'd rather do that on a day like today as well, rather than a miserable, windy, rainy day. So coming round into the harbour, I can see the boat lift's ready. They've got it ready for me. So we'll take you all the way into the lift. And a little bit of close handling coming up. I've put a handling rope on the front, on each of the front cleats. It's customary that there'll be people who'll be guiding the boat. I've also put some relatively high fenders because I know that this dock here can be a bit tricky. I've been into it before and had a boat lifted here before. Many years ago, admittedly, but they clonked the stainless steel rail at the time, and that did cause a few issues. There's a lot of boats down here, a lot of brokerage boats down here, so it's really important that the handling is spot on. And I'm going to do my very best to get this in here without any difficulty, hopefully without any dramas. Just keeping the drive moving as much as I can, and I can see now that the drive is there, the boat lift is there. So I'm just going to creep around into where the lift is now, and a little bit of close handling here. Tight manoeuvring, just starboard side forward, port side in astern, and we'll just creep forward a bit here now. You can see the boat lift ahead of me there. I can't see any of the stuff, but I'm also acutely aware that the water level's down and that's a concrete ramp, and what I don't want to do is run the bow into the concrete ramp. There's somebody waiting for me, that's good news. So just a little bit of boat close handling. We'll get this smack in there on those. There we go. It's not smacking in, I hope is the word. I've put two bow lines on for you, handling lines on. Yeah, no worries. Just very aware of that concrete. No, you're right. How are we looking? Sorry? Okay. Bring it up. Happy? This isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. These were done with Trilux at the end of last season, and actually there's very little fouling on them. A few dinks in the props, but even those props look a lot better. Oh, that one doesn't. Look at that. That's gone. Look, that's gone. Oh, that's gone. Look, that's galvanic corrosion. These are zinc. They're hardly touched, so should have cleaned those up a bit. So effectively what's happened is that zinc, this is fresh water, and these props have become the anodes. That's not good. The first job is to get the pressure washer out and actually just get these last little bits of grime off the side here. I'll use the scraper and things. And here, see this browning? This is white, this is brown. I've got a magic compound that goes on here called Chime Shine, and it chime shine, I can't even say that, and it gets all of this off, especially underneath here where we've got the exhaust and all the grime. We'll get this cleaned up, get this pressure washed off, give these a bit more of a clean, and work our way around. This is not going to take a huge amount to polish up. It had a really good polish a couple of years ago. I think the dirty bits here will come off quite well. These are just loose bits of harbour worm and lime scale. Not much though, just there where the strops were. Wish they'd cleaned their strops beforehand, would be handy. And just get all this green out, and then I might even, while these are hanging, give these a good squirt with MSR. MSR cleans these up really well, by the way. And just clean everything here. Nice pressure wash all the way around. Look at that, it's green. Gotta say though, you know, you have to put it in perspective. It's 2 years, it's more than 2 years actually, because it was April time. So 2 and a bit years since this came out of the water. And this antifoul has worked really, really well. You saw it when it came out. These are the bits I sanded down a couple of years ago. So yeah, they're not bad, are they? I don't think there's any sanding required. So I'm not going to fall foul of the regulations as they are now. We're not allowed to sand this anymore. This is very, very bad for the environment. The days of doing this are long gone. It's get a scraper on there and just wet and braid it if you have to. But getting this off is going to be my priority for the afternoon. Look at that grime. So paintbrush, get some of this shine on. Shine, can't say that. Shine. It's really, really good. Get this on, get this all over here, and get the bad boy pressure washer, the Titan pressure washer working. Titan, yeah, it's not the Titan, you know. No, I can't do that again. I'm sorry, Crowbots, I can't do that again. So let's get the washing underway. And so day one done, and what we've achieved today so far is to wash off as much of the black and grime from the fiberglass as I could. There's still a little bit more to do, but I'll come to that when I clean it and polish it. I've started rubbing down the Outdrives and had a real good look at these props. Now this prop is definitely dead. That's a good one. That one is savable, but I still think needs replacing. And this is a good one. So I think one pair of props, if I can find an original pair of Volvo Penta props, that'll be good. The engineer's coming next week, and he's going to be taking the Outdrives off and doing a little bit of work for me. I pointed it out a couple of years ago, but there's a bit of sideways movement on that Outdrive, and we need to sort that out, at least reduce it as much as possible. It may be a difficult job to fix. Now you may recognise these off the back of the boat as they came off. This is the front propeller from my port side. This is my rear propeller from my port side, and you can see that it's got significant damage around the outer rims. On my starboard side, it was the front propeller which has suffered, although I'm not entirely sure this is all down to galvanic action, although that most certainly is. But the rear propeller's in pretty good nick. So I've got two choices here. I can either send the pair away, make a good pair, and send the pair away to be refurbished, or I can do exactly what I've done here and just purchase a reconditioned pair. And this is from Steel Developments. These are original VP. The only thing is the rear prop, I did have to send this back again because it was damaged in the post, and the one I've got here has got a welded centre, so it's been rebuilt around the edge here. But I've got to get the thrust ring out of here, out of this propeller here, to go into that. So what I did do is I knocked that out with a dowel, so that is able to get in there. The next job then is to get the good pair of props from here, which are those two. I've already sanded them down with the sander, get the wet and dry on there, and then give them a coat of black acrylic paint, which is what these are coated in. What I am going to do is I am going to just buff these off and mat these off, and then all four props and the spinners are going to get a coat of Sea Jet. So that's the big plan. One good pair of props, one set of reconditioned props, and all. What am I going to do with the two that I've got left over? Well, I'm going to have those two refurbished, so I've got a complete spare pair. These are A4s, by the way, and they don't make them anymore. What Volvo do sell is something called a J4, and there has been some sort of speculation as to whether they're as good as the old props. But let's get these props here all wet and dried down and give them a coat of black acrylic paint. Okay, so what have I been up to? Well, I've managed to wet compound the whole of the hull, and I've also got a coat of polish on there. I've managed to do some of the top sides as well and get rid of all the brown staining around the bottom of the hull. I fixed a couple of the little scratches. There was a black line here, that's gone. And there was a very small scuff just at the back quarter here, and all I've done is I've very lightly abraded it, polished it, and although it's still there, you can hardly see it. Cleaned up around the front of the bow, got rid of the rust stain, and what I've started doing now is just going over with the mop and taking that first coat of polish off. And you can see this is the polished surface, and that's just after a very light buff. So you can see that the polish is, the machining has gone very, very well. Okay, so back again, and let's have a look at the work that's been done on the boat so far. Tom's been busy working at the back end of the boat on the Outdrives. He serviced them. They're back on the boat. Let's go and have a look at what he's done. These are the Outdrives. As you can see, the props are still off at the moment. I've got those because one pair of them is definitely gone. I've still got the anodes to change over. As you can see, these are the ones that came off, and they look pretty much like new zinc anodes. Zinc doesn't work on fresh water, as we've discussed earlier. He's told me not to worry about this. This is just a play in the inside steering arm, and actually all the bearings in the Outdrive are pretty good. What he has done though is he's changed the end caps on these rams for me, so hopefully these rams now will work and not drop down every 5 minutes. All the bellows have been changed over, so these should all be good. My job is to refinish these now, give those a paint, get some anti-foul on them. I've still got to anti-foul the hull, and I've got to finish polishing. As you can see, there's a fair polish on here, but I really, really want to get this polished up as good as I possibly can, because once this is in the water, I can't get down here. Certainly the next job on these Outdrives is to get these last the zinc anodes off and out of the way. Just move the ladder. These little triangles don't really do an awful lot on these drives, but I'll keep them anyway. Oddly, there's only one on each of these drives on each side, as opposed to two, one on each side, so 50% of the protection, I suppose. Gosh, they're in there tight. And what I do tend to do is when I put them on, is I do tend to dip them in a little bit of grease, just to make sure that they don't seize in there, because these do have to come back off again, and drilling them off is no fun. But also you want the metal to metal contact, of course, so that you get the sacrificial current fizzing off the anodes rather than anywhere else. Right, that's one off. As you can see there, you've got both the bolts there for the bar anode. Well, these are coming undone a lot more easily than I thought they would, which is good news. But let's get these undone, and then you'll see the bar anode I'm talking, the lower shield that I'm talking about, and it just stops the or gives some protection to the exhaust bellows. That's one undone. That's two, and there's the shield there, look. This one's kind of staying where it is, so good job. And that will come off if I just touch that with my fingers. That should just come off. So these are the two zinc bar anodes that came off the back of the Outdrives. They give protection to the transom shield. Not anywhere at all on them really. These are the lower shields. They stop the exhaust bellows getting fouled up or damaged, and they work fairly well, so you mustn't lose these. These are gold dust. So I think what I'm going to do is brush up and clean up the bottom here, give this a good brush over, and just sand it lightly, ready to give it a coat of paint, then anti-foul. Just going to start preparing these. I'm not really going to go to town on them too much, but using quite a strong grit just to knock back the anti-foul and the paint that's on there, and then I'll use the profile sander just to go in and finish it off. And there's, everywhere I look, there's a lawnmower going past today. Yeah, that P60. This will get some of this off, get this moving along. I have a feeling that this other Outdrive just had air bubbles in it, so I've pumped it back up again now, and it seems to be staying up. But let's get going with it. Right, that's just a really rough sanding of the Outdrives. Just get a little bit closer. All I've done is just knocked down all the old anti-foul that's on there. It's spray on anti-foul Trilux, which was on top of the original black finish, which I think was actually Sea-Jet anti-foul. What I'm going to do is just to go over this with a profile sander, just make sure that we've got all the little bits out, all the harbour worm is gone. And then we're going to start spraying this in with some, clean it with acetone, clean it with water first, dry it, then clean it with acetone, and then start spraying in with Ascolti, which is the proper paint for these Outdrives. Asculati even. So where are we up to then? Well, I've cleaned these down. I've given them a good clean down with some acetone. Good stuff. Although I've sanded these as best I can. I'm not really going to kick the backside out of them, but what I am going to do now is I'm going to give these a very light spray with the proper Volvo Penta paint, and then over the top of that paint, once that's gone off, I'm going to spray some anti-foul spray. Not the best paint job in the world, but this will give the metal some protection. And although I'm going to be spraying some anti-foul on the top of this, I have already masked this up ready for the hull anti-foul, but only in the back section here, because I'm not going to anti-foul today, and if it rains, then this masking tape is really difficult to get off if it gets wet, so I'm trying to keep that dry. But the idea of spray painting these and rubbing these down was just get rid of all the harbour worm, giving it a very light coat of paint, and just giving the metal of the Outdrive some protection before we put the anti-foul spray on top of that. But they don't look too bad, and that should give them some protection underneath, where the anti-foul then should keep all the growth off. Look pretty good though. What I'm actually painting these with is Hempel Eco Power Prop. It is specifically Volvo coloured, Volvo grey, and it's just an anti-foul type spray paint. I'm trying not to get the paint on the brand new bellows, but I am trying to get it into all the nooks and crannies, keeping it off the ram bars as well, because we just paid good money to have those changed. So just trying to get right to the back of the engine. So the engine, the Outdrive, getting a really good coat on there, not too much overspray hopefully on the tops here, and just trying to get the tops of these steering helmets anti-fouled in the same time. There we go, and it's a good grey, so it looks normal for the drive. It kind of is a good compliment. So it's the end of another long day, and it doesn't feel like I've got that much done today, except I have. What I have done is I've rubbed down both the Outdrives, repainted them with Volvo paint, and then repainted them again with Hempel anti-foul paint. This is pretty much the equivalent of what I put on last year or the year before. I keep saying last year, but it's over 2.5 years since these were last painted, and these were painted with something called Trilux previously, so this is a new product to me, and just going to see what happens with the Outdrives. I've still got to put the new anodes on. These are the zincs that came off, and again another example of how good they are. They haven't worked at all really, have they? So I'm going to pop those on and take all the pieces of tissue out, which are protecting the new bellows that have been put on. The lifting rams have all been replaced. The rams weren't lifting, the Outdrives weren't lifting properly, so as I say, I've just put tissue around that so I don't get any paint on the rams, because I don't want to get anything in here which is going to disrupt the seals. I popped that in there to protect the new bellows. Try and keep paint off them, because rubber and any type of paint really doesn't match or go together very well. Let's have a quick look. You see that's the other ram that's been replaced. Get that tissue out of the drive there. Once again, just get that cleaned off there completely. I might just need to clean that ram off a little bit with some acetone, just to make sure that that's absolutely perfectly clean, because I don't want anything to abrade those seals in there. This is where I'm just, oh, there's a little bit of anti-foul on the rubber there, which is not good because it is sticky on the rubber. I'll try and clean that off. Another day, another very knackered person. When I say this is day 3, this has been over quite a few weeks now, so when I come back to the boat, it's not necessarily where I've left it the day before. And what I did have to do today was do quite a lot of cleaning just to catch up to where I'd left it the time before. But that's a wrap for today, and we'll be back maybe tomorrow. So let's catch up where we're at. The Outdrives are finished, all bar the props, and now I've gone around and polished all of the lower part of the hull. There are some patches that I just need to touch up, like a slightly dull patch there, but generally speaking it's all really good. And as I've gone around and polished and hand polished this, I've also masked up the boot line, because the next big job is to get the anti-foul on. There's a small problem because I haven't been able to sand the hull. There are still plenty of patches like here where there's greens. As I go around and paint, I'm also going to have a go at scraping at the same time. So I'm going to scrape and paint as I go. I really want to get this finished today. And then the only job on the outside of the boat to do is to do a little bit of work with some Sikaflex around this artificial teak, which has started lifting. If you remember, I stuck this down a few years ago, but just the edges are coming loose now. So let's get on and get suited up, ready to get the anti-foul on. Let's just give this the best shake that I can before I give it a stir, because normally all the heavier content falls to the bottom of the tin. Oh, I'm out of breath already. Righty, let's find something to stir that up with. Alrighty, ready to get going with the anti-foul now. I've got the old suit on because you do get covered, and I like to be able to pull the hood up. I've got some goggles as well. Little tip with gloves. When you put your gloves on, put 2 or 3 sets on at the same time, or pairs on at the same time. So there's nothing worse than getting your hands covered in anti-foul. And if you've got 2 or 3 pairs on, you can just pull the outer pair off, and then you've got good gloves to carry on with. A paintbrush to go around the outside, various different rollers, extendable roller, and I found a little piece of foam in the bin which I'm going to use to lay on when I'm underneath as well. I'm also going to be taking a wire brush with me so I can brush the bits and pieces of green off that are still there, or loose flaky anti-foul, as I go. So all set and all ready to go. Let's get busy and get the anti-fouling done. So there it is, the anti-fouling is done as always, just enough. And if I hadn't spilt a little tiny bit, I'd have probably been able to just go around the bottom with a second coat. But the time has come to carry on peeling off the tape. Now I like to do this when it's still tacky, because when you do it when it's dry, it kind of pulls big chunks off. Oh, there's a bit that's gone underneath the tape there. Let's whoa, got to wind it in a little bit. It's getting along, holding the camera at the same time. A peeling tape doesn't work, it's not so good. Not too bad at all. That blue tape is kind of like more of a lining tape, while the yellow masking tape is a little bit cheaper, so I tended to do the line with the blue tape. One tiny little bit here which I just need to tidy up, and I'll do that shortly. But yeah, it looks pretty good. I'll start getting the tape off there as well. Just a bit of a run around the spray rails here, but oh, there's a bit I've missed. Look at that. Oh no, Lucky I've got some still on the paintbrush, so I'll get the paintbrush back out and just paint that bit in, I think. Back at the boat today to get the last few jobs done, but I'm on a time scale. 45 minutes time, this boat's getting lifted back into the water, and the props are down there and not yet on the outdrives. So my job today, one job, is to get these props back on.
Too short to go through it alone. When I met you, you left an open door. I keep checking in to see if you're still home. Wanna be your light, wanna be your home.
That's the boat just back in the water. I've already had a look down at all the through holes to make sure there are no leaks. The last little check is just to go into the engine bay here. Having a really good look at the back of the engines, making sure we've got no water coming in. Doesn't look to be the case, but what I'm going to do is just raise and lower the outdrives a few times just to make sure. So that's the next job to do. I'm probably going to put these and leave these about +2 or 3 because it's quite shallow, so I'm just taking a little bit of lift on there. Let's go back and have a look at the engine bay, make sure there's no leaks. And I think not, so I think we're good to go. It's quite difficult getting out of here, as you saw when we came in. It's quite difficult. Secret Lady, I know who used to own that boat once upon a time. It's a bit windy. I need to turn, and I also need to keep my nose away from these concrete edges because these are quite dangerous. So I'm just going to take it very cautiously and very easily out of here and make sure that I come out of here nice and slowly, because what I don't want to do is end up getting scratched on this concrete heading. So I'm going to also make sure I've got some higher fenders as well before I go. And the wind is blowing from that direction, so it's blowing us onto this concrete this side. So I'm going to come off backwards over to there, let the nose swing this way, and then I'm going to reverse back into that opening over there, turn, and then proceed down the channel that way. That's my plan. This is the point where I need to turn. It's very tight here, so I'm going to go starboard forward, port astern. I want to get a little bit of a turn here, not much, just enough to get the boat turning. We'll get the bow through this little corner here, turning nice and slowly. And what I want to do is just pop the back end almost into this little pocket here. So a little bit more starboard forward, a little bit more port stern. Bow's coming around nicely, just checking the bow there. A little bit more port stern, a little bit more starboard forward. Keep that turn going. Bow's coming around nicely without any bow thruster. Just going to keep that turn going. Same thing. Touch of port stern, touch of starboard of forward. Port stern, starboard forward. And we're just coming round, looking at the safe side of the marina, looking at the trees up there. The wind is going to be blowing across a fairway. So I'm going to try and stick to that left-hand side of the marina as I go up this fairway. It's very narrow. As you can see, the back's still coming around nicely there. It's very shallow, so I'm trying to keep my prop movements to an absolute minimum because I don't want to be dragging dirt, especially as they've just been refurbished. I think we're more or less ready to set off now, but I want to kind of make sure I'm on that side of the marina as I proceed down the fairway. So I'm just going to head over towards that side of the marina first, and then we'll start heading down this fairway. I'm going to have to put the camera down to do that though. So what I'm going to do is just drive straight over to that left side, safe side of the marina, and rather than use the wheel at this time, just going to use the throttles, just a little bit of starboard astern, just to bring that front round a tad. Okay, there we go. And then if I start sticking a little bit of forward drive on that port side now, we should have control of the boat. There we go. And we're moving down the correct side of the marina, the safe side, although the wind seems to have died a little tiny bit there. It's always good to talk through what you're doing here. As you'll see, this is quite a narrow fairway in places. When we're coming down, you can see that you're getting quite close to some of the boats. It's a beautiful day, and probably the first day of summer really, I suppose, but looks absolutely lovely out there. What I will be doing just before we go back to the mooring is just take this up the river a little way, just have a look and make sure everything's doing what it should be doing regarding the outdrives. So let's just poodle along the fairway here, and I'll see you back out on the river. And here we are, just about to join the main river. This is the house construction I've been watching just across the river there for pretty much a year now. It's huge. That's nothing like what came down there, but a lot of people know these people, and they're pretty decent people apparently, so we'll see what comes up at the end. Just having a good look both ways. Nothing coming down the river, nothing coming this way, and I think today I'm going to turn left because I just want to get a little bit of power under these engines and just see how things go. We've done a nice job on the piling over here. Now I guess look at that, somewhere to live, hey? Look at that. Wow.